President Trump. Unprecedented foreign policy announcement last night at a joint appearance with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. He proposed that the U.S. actually take over the Gaza Strip, to even open up the possibility of sending troops. The Gaza's entire population of roughly 2 million people should move elsewhere, is what he said. Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce has more on the president's comments and all of the fallout. Good morning, Mary.
Good morning, George. This is a brazen proposal. President Trump claiming without authority rights to one of the most contested strips of land in the world, announcing plans to displace.
I'm going to keep it $150. This is the first and last thing I'm going to say. While this is happening, if your number one goal here is to get a dunk on what you have perceived as your true enemies, you are revealing that you do not care about the awfulness that Palestinians are subjected to. We already knew that. If you were actively telling people to shut the up about a genocide, okay? But if your goal here is to be like, see, I told you Trump would be worse. Yeah, I said that too, okay? Many times over. 1,000,000 times over. That doesn't change the reality that Joe Biden still did this genocide, had all the power to end it, and refused to. Okay? All you have done in this process is basically demonstrate that you didn't give a shit when Biden was doing it, and you certainly don't give a shit when Trump is doing it either. Okay? So you've already lost the opportunity to even, quote unquote, resist Trump from a hashtag liberal perspective. Okay? You mean how they're subjected to Hamas? What? Lightweight baby safe travels? Anyway, he's also just being open about doing the same things Biden was doing quietly, except there's a lot less death actively happening. Yes, we went from Genocide Joe to Genocide Don. Okay? That's it. But for people that immediately run to, make it seem like they give a shit, they don't. Yeah, hope everyone's happy now that they got Genocide Joe out of the office. It's like, do you mean? Yeah, he was. What are we? Are we joking? Was he not doing it? Like all of a sudden? That's how you can tell who has a heart or not. I told you so is not fun to do when there's someone suffering and you were just right about it happening one way or another. Yeah, you're not going to hear me say I told you so, even though I did say this, because I'm not a piece of shit. Okay? Same goes for my former podcast co-host. I think it was Shonda Black who said, if you got a longer compilation of you saying the N-word with a hard R than the amount of times that you've spent on defending Palestinians, then we got a problem. Maybe you don't give a f about them. You know what I mean? Maybe you didn't care under any leadership. You can try to present yourself as caring, but if your ambitions and your motivation simply revolves around, calling your former podcast co-host an anti-Semite and a radical terrorist over and over again, perhaps most people who do care about the issue understand that you don't. Then I won't be voting for Democrats. Now Democrats do something, around and find out. Like, what is this, man? The f is this? The f is this? So you just don't give a shit. And for the record, this is not just about Gaza for me either. I've said this exact same thing about undocumented migrants. Okay? I said this exact same thing. In the aftermath of Trump's electoral victory, Democrats were talking about how they're going to call ICE on their neighbors. That if they have any immediate family members of undocumented neighbors that they have that have voted for Trump, they're going to call ICE on their neighbors. I was like, what the f are you doing? Then you are a piece of shit. You're not an ally. You're not a friend. Okay? Like, you're a ginormous piece of shit. You're a bad person. You are no different than the Republicans that I hate. And the same goes for this as well. Sean's other banger. Any creator for Kamala that refused the DNC access to speak up for Palestinian liberation right off? Okay. Biden absolutely paved the way for Trump to continue the genocide. Yeah. And ironically enough, Trump paved the way for October 7 to happen because American foreign policy is uniparty and they only go in one direction. Okay. That's it. Right-wing Cope just did this. Just filed an ICE report against the grandma, the Indian kid Elon Musk hired because she overstayed her visa. Dark woke. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that. Dark woke is just a meme for the most part. I think dark woke is when you're supposed to actually be ruthless to the individual Republicans, not like, their grandparents. But dark woke is a joke anyway. That person is joking. It's still a gross joke, but whatever. I don't understand why liberals can't actually focus their angst their animosity, their anger on that actually matters in terms of, like people with power. Why don't they do that? Why don't they do that? Why do they focus on weak people? Why do they dunk on the people that are going to get over under the Biden administration or under the Trump administration? Okay, sure. They're going to get over worse under the Trump administration. Good. I knew that as well. I said it as well. What do you want? A cookie? You want a medal? You want a ribbon? Lock in.
Look, technically right now,
I don't know if you can say that.
I don't know if you can say that. I mean, I know that the amount of Palestinians in Gaza are dying today is less than it was during the Biden administration.
Some USA.
Wow. I'm sure all the liberals who really like Sam Cedar, but really despise me, will be shocked to find out that he had an identical perspective to mine. You didn't say Trump would be worse hard enough when Kamala was saying she wouldn't do anything different? Yeah, I know. Wait, what? You're joking, I hope. I hope you're not saying that like sincerely, because that is kind of what liberals are saying right now as they desperately look for the real reasons why Kamala Harris lost, which is a collection of leftists online, and not because she hugged and kissed Liz Cheney while simultaneously actively pushing out Palestinians or Arabs or Muslims from the coalition of voters. Like, genuinely, they just kept saying, we don't want your votes. We don't want your nasty ass votes. Those liberals can't attack Sam on aesthetic grounds, though, because he's very calm at all times. Yeah. And it's also difficult to call Sam anti-Semitic too. He is an older Jewish man who is very calm when he describes these things, and not a scary Muslim, If only there were people who were yelling from the rooftops over and over again about how unimaginably dangerous the Trump administration would be for a multitude of different reasons, including but not limited to Gaza, and that the Democratic Party should launch the best possible defense against that, and that they were being pathetic and weak, not meeting the needs or the demands of the American population. Remember that tweet from Destiny a week or two from the election, talking about how if they won it, it would be proof that they didn't need lefties like you and they should excise you from the progressive movement? Yeah. Meanwhile, he excised himself, by being a alleged sex criminal.
Through to him finally.
Do I think that ultimately Trump is going to be worse than Harris? Harris was also a hypothetical.
Yeah.
And I will say,
all we were
I have
going
pretty
against
negative
was
prognosis of what I think she would have done.
But Obama stood up to.
Idiots are calling Sam your token Jew. Sam Cedar has been doing political commentary since I was basically in my diapers. What are we talking about? What? I think you're mistaken it. Yeah, it's so weird. I guess Bernie Sanders, Felix Biederman, Alex, Gabor Mate, Noam Chomsky, Norm Finkelstein, like a million different Jewish Holocaust scholars that are anti-Israel, Noah Colwyn, every single person that I just mentioned here, Elon Pape, all Jewish, all anti-Zionist, okay? They just, they're all my tokens, I guess. Felix Biederman. It's just like, how do you not realize how unimaginably anti-Semitic that shit is? Did you cover Hutch's reaction? No, I don't cover Hutch's reaction to anything. Is there a new Call of Duty map out? Maybe I covered that. Considering how consistently wrong he is, why in the ever-loving would I ever cover Hutch's takes on anything political related? I already listened to enough morons be professionally wrong all the time on the Republican side. What do you want me to do? You want me to also listen to professionally wrong morons on the liberal side? I'm sorry. Has that man ever had a correct take? Maybe you should pay Michael from Pennsylvania the $500 or $1,000 that he had. I think he owes him money for that bet.
Netanyahu with the Iran deal. Like, it's possible that Democrats would do it. It's not possible.
But the circumstances
that
have to
Republicans
align again. Like, I agree, but I just want to say, like, I think even I was saying it was worth voting for Harris over Trump, even if you said a null difference, because I think that's frankly the safest thing to credibly promise. Because I wouldn't predict any backbone from Harris on this. I don't even know if she would have secured the ceasefire, but
Well,
who knows? But Scott from Detroit, it shouldn't be Sam's job to make the argument that Harris would be 1% better on Gaza. The Harris campaign was unwilling to directly say, we'll be 1% better on Gaza.
Yes.
well, that's what I'm saying. It falls on them. The people that are blaming the voters on this, I mean, come on. Like, the same people right now, and I don't want to be too online about it, so it's a throwaway comment, but the same people that are saying, like, dunking.
Yeah, I can't believe it. I can't believe the people did not respond to harm reduction arguments. Unironically, when on this issue at least, the Democrats didn't even do harm reduction arguments. It was actually Democratic Party boosters that were fantasizing about harm reduction arguments that the Democrats weren't even making themselves. The Democrats broadly communicated that they wanted to excise Muslims, Palestinians, anyone who's anti-war from their coalition. They openly did that. Okay? Peep the date. Summoning circle, Mitch McConnell fall down the stairs. Wait, what? He's fallen down the stairs before. That's the craziest part. If Israel detested Biden slightly less and Blinken hadn't left work early every day to slather his face in shoe polish and commit musical crimes in his garage, you'd be defending the failed implementation of Bluesman's identical plan rather than pretending it didn't exist. Call me callous. But watching Trump do exactly what he promised to do and all the left is being like, no, is so funny to me. At least there's no more Genocide Joe, right? Yeah, there isn't any Genocide Joe anymore. It's Genocide Don now. I just, like, what is the argument that, like, Donald Trump being even marginally worse, potentially down the line, than, because he's going to be that way, obviously. There's no world in which Donald Trump comes across as better, right? Except for the brief moment of solace given to the Palestinians. You're so delusional, it's sad. Answer my question. Have you thought about a dress recently? Oh no, Trump is making everything better again. Aren't you happy? No men will be competing in women's sports. You're so delusional, it's sad. Brother, we moved on from this conversation, okay? We're watching your glorious king suck the penis of the Israeli leader, okay? A country that would not exist without our unlimited support. Hey, Trump supporter. Hey, Trump supporter, watch this. Look at this. I mean, Genocide Joe is a piece of shit. But let me tell you, I haven't seen him do this before. Hold on. We call this in the industry, we call this full service, okay? It's called full service, baby. Check that shit out. You like that? Look at your daddy. Look at your daddy, dude. Look at your daddy. Showing respect to his own daddy. Look at that. Oh. Thank you, sir. Please be comfortable in your seat. Please, sir. I hope you had a wonderful day today. Another $1 billion of weapons coming your way, sir. I came from a middle-class family. The f does that have to do with anything? Here's your goat, okay? How does that make you feel, you cuck? You stupid cuck piece of shit. Okay, Mr. Peaceful Dove, remember? Even Bradley texted me and was like, okay, maybe Trump wasn't going to bring about peace in Israel. Anyway, let's get to the real story.
Gaza into, quote, the Riviera of the Middle East. This morning, a stunning proposal from an American president. Donald Trump, with the Israeli prime minister by his side, declaring that the U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip and calling for the permanent resettlement of roughly 2 million Palestinians.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site.
And he says he's willing to use the U.S. military to do it.
We'll do what is necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that. We're going to take over that piece, and we're going to develop it, create thousands and thousands of jobs.
Benjamin Netanyahu seemingly on board with the plan.
I think it's something that could change history, and it's worthwhile really pursuing this avenue.
The real estate mogul turned president touting the potential opportunity.
I don't want to be cute. I don't want to be a wise guy, but the Riviera of the Middle East, this could be something that could be so bad. This could be so magnificent.
But Trump provided no details on how he could do this or on what authority he could take over the sovereign territory. His proposal likely a violation of international law.
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly.
The big question, who would live there? Trump broadly suggesting everyone is welcome, but he made it clear.
Dude, the international law is over. Okay? It's never been more over than at this moment. Joe Biden already basically destroyed it, especially important to address because at this moment, Joe Biden already basically destroyed it, especially important to address because he was supposed to be the reasonable adult in the room that wasn't like Donald Trump that would renege on like previous American foreign policy decisions like Donald Trump did when he destroyed the Iran denuclearization agreement and things like that. And Donald Trump came in and was like, yeah, no, what do you mean international rule-based order? I make the rules. I give you the orders. You follow them. That's just how it's supposed to work, which in some respects is honest. It's brutally honest, right? There's honesty there. There's truth there, okay? But it's over. It's done. Donald Trump is once again showcasing that it's super done. In many respects, I've talked to a lot of well-intentioned people out here, and their perspective on America's placement around the planet, especially in places like Japan, and this was championed by the JCP as well, this perspective was, people that are constantly in their minds living under the ever-present threat of China and Russia, right? Outside of the sphere of American influence. They were truly terrified of Vladimir Putin's actions, which is understandable. I think we here in the United States of America, even though I'm in Japan right now, don't necessarily see the threat of a despot or a tyrant or someone who is just like willing to just go, nah, I'm taking this, it's mine now, outside of the United States of America, right? And we're far removed. So even if we're far removed from the impact of it, so even if, let's say, the fears are unfounded because of the limitations that the Russian state has in terms of taking over the entirety of Ukraine and then possibly moving into Poland, like even if all of that is impossible given the actual limitations, okay? I think that Vladimir Putin's actions, unjustifiable actions in Ukraine, violent actions in Ukraine, have truly terrified a lot of people living under the sphere of Western influence. They are scared that this entire process can just kind of fall apart if someone just goes, nah, I'm not around with this any longer. This is mine. I'm just going to violate all the norms. The only country that is able to violate those norms is the United States of America. Because when it does violate those norms, it does it through the rule-based international order to a certain degree. And while someone like myself might see the truth in that and still get frustrated endlessly, okay, this past year has shown that America, aligned with Israel, which is an extension of America, never forget, is also capable of doing Vladimir Putin. And I think a lot of America's allies are, on the one hand, scared that, Vladimir Putin is a bad guy, but they're also now scared that Donald Trump is a bad guy in the exact same way. The collapse of the belief that America's allies have in the rule-based international order is going to lead to real consequences of diminished soft power for America. And in that process, America will no longer be the hegemonic superpower. And as I repeat over and over again, those 800 military bases will now look like 800 military occupations. Like, think about that. Europeans are terrified of Vladimir Putin for what? What's the reason? Well, because he's a madman and he has shown his proclivity for land grabs. Okay. And we're talking about new land grabs. If you already did the land grabs, if you engaged in colonialism and you still have like colonial remnants within your economic infrastructure, like, you know, maybe you have a couple West African countries that you still control the currency of or whatever, that's different. In the minds of the Europeans, they look at that in a very different way. They're like, well, that's just business as usual. That already happened in the past. But when you got a dude who's going, I'm taking a piece of a country on the European continent, they're like, whoa, 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 what the is going on? Hold on. But now you got Donald Trump saying he also wants a piece. You know, you got Donald Trump straight up being like, I'm taking Greenland. What are you going to do about it? I'm taking Canada. What are you going to do about it? I'm taking the Panama Canal. Also, I'm taking Gaza. I'm taking all of it. So this like overt, like pro-empire attitude with not even a lot of massaging of the narrative is something that I think a lot of people are understandably afraid of. Okay? It makes sense because in some ways it is very Adolf Hitler, especially considering that he also wants to do internal concentration camps for the undesirables that live on U.S. soil. Okay? For quite a long time, America has at least tried to engage in empire behavior. When America used to engage in empire behavior, they would at least like masquerade it as a positive. And we've completely dropped that notion. We're not even saying it's a positive. We're like, no, we're the bad guys and we're going to take your shit. Okay? My pro-NATO mom's already saying that we EU should distance ourselves from the US. Yeah, that's it. That will be an attitude shift. That will be an understandable attitude shift because you can't say, oh, I'm just taking it. What are you going to do about it? You can't say that because people will be like, what? What do you mean you're just taking it? You have to set up NGOs. You have to set up civil society organizations. You have to destabilize the country. You have to identify and isolate a real political instability that organically exists in the country. Then you have to really hammer on that political instability and then take advantage of the real, not American pushed, real anger and resentment that people have, fuel that anger and resentment. And when organic protests, grassroots movements actually mobilize, immediately overtake those grassroots movements. Okay? Cover it endlessly in the Western press. Talk about the instability. Talk about the ruthless and brutal ways in which this foreign adversary is destroying the country. Okay? If you don't do all of that stuff and you just go, no, I just want it because they have raw minerals like that I need, or I want to put like a shit ton of military bases here because I want to control trade in new trade paths that might open up as a consequence of climate change, then people are going to go, what? You know, you got to use a little bit of lube. You can't just get in there. You got to open it up a little bit. Donald Trump is saying, what are you going to do about it? That is the difference between in the Zizekian politics. That is the difference between neoliberal dad and authoritarian dad. Okay? Neoliberal dad makes you feel like this was your decision. Authoritarian dad says, nope, it's time out. Okay? My way or the highway. You are arguing for more imperialism? Wait, what? What leads you to believe that? I was protesting in Egypt in 2011 through grassroots movements. We got duped, took less than 2 years for a coup. How is it any different from Biden and Blinken going through Israeli wars? We've reshaped the Middle East in favor of American and Israeli interests. No, it's not different. Wait, what? No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that Biden ironically came into office saying that he was going to restore global order and America at its top. And then with Israel, he literally decided to throw it all aside because Israel's clear-cut violations of all humanitarian rights, all rules, all regulations, and America's endless defense of Israel made everybody see what was going on, the truth of the matter. Okay? Donald Trump is, of course, in the most expected fashion, accelerating that process. That's why I always say American foreign policy is uniparty, but it only goes in one direction, and that is reactionary fascism. Okay. American foreign policy is uniparty. Right wingers come in and they make things even worse. Liberals come back into power after the regular cycle because the right wing is awful, and then people get really exhausted by it. So they're like, "Oh, we need to change immediately." And then liberals come in; they don't actually reverse any of those decisions, and they also kind of continue the uniparty approach. That's it.
The Palestinian residents of Gaza should leave and relocate elsewhere.
There are many of them that want to do this and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in.
And what have you done? I don't know. I try to do my very best with the limited amount of power that I have and the limited amount of influence that I have. I try to use that for good, try to educate people, help them understand the situation on the ground, help them recognize that in domestic politics, who is actually responsible for the pain that they experience, where American priorities are. I've set up numerous fundraisers that have totaled more than $3 million for numerous Palestinian organizations, 8 organizations that are actively working on the ground. You know, I try my best, and it's simply not enough. Okay, it's simply not enough. Wait, what? Lemafeo, in your $1 million home, educate equals encourage people to not vote. Good job, bro. Was there ever a moment? I wonder where this chatter is coming from. I can't tell. Considering that I spent 45 minutes publicly voting on camera and have very consistently talked about the importance of voting in general, I'm going to go ahead and say that you're probably watching YouTube videos where people are telling you that is my perspective. Yeah. On the night of the election, we also asked eligible voters who they voted for. And apparently this screenshot, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump, other. Almost 80% of the community voted for Kamala Harris, understandably. And there were Trump supporters in there as well. Not every single person in this community is a Democrat, remember, especially on election night. You love taking the bait. I try to correct the record to the best of my ability because I always know that there's new people in here, and I don't want them to also be duped by outright lies. Ethan is saying you voted for Jill Stein. Prepare for that to be the new headline. That's amazing. You know what's really funny about all this shit? I'm sure there's a compilation out there of me literally ripping into Jill Stein over and over and over and over and over again. Like, there are, I call Jill Stein a grifter. I debated chatters who kept yelling at me because I wouldn't advocate to vote for Jill Stein. It's so funny that people would much rather passively consume this content and my commentary from someone who has not watched it and has only seen the clips and is using this to smear me, rather than just actually coming to the political commentator and being like, hey, I don't know what your perspective is, but wait, what is this?
Impossible to remember every single thing that he's done. Here, I'll give you
Why you should not vote for Jill Stein, especially Donald Trump. What is this? Especially Donald Trump. Oh. Why you mustn't vote for Jill Stein and you definitely shouldn't vote for Donald Trump. That's the title of this video. Okay, this is a fan channel. They clipped it. Yeah, he's framing this Trump Gaza news around you and how it's your fault.
I feel like you can absolutely say that this is the fault of people like Hasan.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. I too look at a genocide that is occurring and think to myself, how can I make this about a person that I feel slighted by as an individual? That's what I say. And then I turn around and say, a genocide is happening. Like that's the deflection, as though that's like a real deflection and not a principled stance I have. I'm done. We got to stop. We're putting a ban on these idiotic Ethan clips, please. Like it's baby shit. It's for babies. You are a baby. Over and over. Bro made his whole personality an r/destiny hallucination. I know. Oh God. Hasan, if I was you, my ego would be through the roof. He's so obsessed with you. No, dude. I just want him to. I want him to be well. Okay. This is clearly not well. The difference between you and Ethan is that he doesn't allow dissidents on his podcast unless you pay for it, whereas your chat is open to the public. You are constantly on the defense from people who don't have to give up anything to comment on your live stream. even if I wanted to go and try to spell some of the lies in his chat, I would be having to give money to a person. Oh my God, I'm completely in the dark right now. I have to fix this situation. Hold on. I'm going to put the curtains up. It's over. It's like a joke. Liberals are so spineless. Hold on.
Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This can be paid for by neighboring countries of great wealth.
Hours earlier in the Oval Office, the president argued Palestinians have no choice but to leave Gaza.
It's a pure demolition site. If we could find the right piece of land or numerous pieces of land and build them some really nice places with plenty of money in the area, that's for sure, I think that would be a lot better than going back to Gaza.
Shortly after welcoming Netanyahu to the White House, Trump digging in, asked point blank if he believes Palestinians have a right to return.
It would be my hope that we could do something really nice, really good, where they wouldn't want to return. Why would they want to return? The place has been hell. It's been one of the meanest, toughest places on earth.
And then just hours later, that shocking declaration that he envisions the U.S. taking over Gaza entirely. After 16 months of war, the devastation is massive. But even amid the destruction, since the ceasefire was announced last month, Palestinians returning to their homes. Those images, hundreds of thousands determined to get back. In Gaza this morning, Palestinians strongly rejecting Trump's proposal. This man saying, "We are staying steadfast in our land here. Whoever wants to rebuild should not kick us out under the pretext of rebuilding." But the president now insists that Egypt and Jordan should take them in, an idea those countries have fiercely rejected.
Well, I think Jordan and Egypt will, I know they've spoken about it with you, and they say they're not going to accept. I say they will.
Democrats say the president's proposal is ridiculous.
What he's saying is dangerous because it will put U.S. interests in the Middle East at risk. It could put U.S. embassy personnel at risk.
Now, President Trump is making this proposal even as the U.S. has been working to secure the second phase of this ceasefire deal, which intends to bring about the release of the remaining hostages and a permanent end to fighting. Negotiations that were incredibly difficult even before President Trump made this new announcement. What comes next, George, is unclear.
Well, yeah, Mary, there's so many questions there, including this simply flies in the face of everything President Trump has said in the past about pulling back the American military from overseas commitments.
It certainly does, George. This goes against the promises that President made on the campaign trail. These are exactly the kinds of conflicts that he has tried to avoid and that the U.S. has tried to avoid in the Middle East for decades.
Inside Gaza, President Trump's idea has been met with outrage from Palestinians determined to keep their homes, even if those buildings are in ruins. Chris Livesay has more from Israel.
Since the start of this ceasefire, hundreds of thousands of Gazans have begun moving back home, or what's left of it. This president, who is called Donald Trump, comes to us with a new method to displace us from our country where we are rooted. This man says, "This is our land. We will not get out of it." But rebuilding will take more than resilience. A UN assessment estimates that clearing the more than 50 million tons of rubble left behind could take 21 years. More than 1.7 million have been displaced by the ongoing war.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip.
Trump's proposal to resettle all of them has reignited painful memories of the Nakba, when hundreds of thousands of Palestinians were forced from their homes.
Wait, what the hell? Yo, liberal media talking about the Nakba? What the hell is going on, dude? Oh my God, is resistance liberalism back? That's crazy. That is actually crazy. That is, wow, shocking. I didn't realize that mainstream media was deeply anti-Semitic. This is CBS Mornings. Isn't this where Tony Double Cirque on friend of the show, Ta-Nehisi Coates? Same program, by the way. What's happening? That's crazy.
The creation of Israel. What about infuriating the people who remember the Nakba, who talk about displacement? It's a very visceral pain for the 2 million people in Gaza.
What I think President Trump is saying here is that Gazans, you have a choice. You do not need to continue to live under a radical jihadist regime. We will.
Oh, that's what he's saying. Oh, got it. No, he's saying he's going to do mass ethnic displacement. That's what he's saying. And you love that he's saying that. Like, that's it. God damn, dude. What a crock of shit this is. Ugh.
Provide solutions for you. Does he mean that the 2 million Gazans will leave Gaza tomorrow morning? Probably not.
But despite the destruction of the Strip, most Gazans remain determined not to leave.
Both Egypt and Jordan have rejected Donald Trump's proposal, fearing, they say, for the population of Gaza as well as their own.
Here's how Hamas responded to it. Hamas official Bassem Naim says Trump announcement of a U.S. plan to seize Gaza and remove Palestinians is a crime against humanity and a reinforcement of the law of the jungle at the international level. Okay. He said the problem of reconstruction is not in the presence of the Palestinian people on their land, but rather in the continuation of the Zionist occupation and the stifling siege of the Gaza Strip for more than 17 years with American support. Naim called for urgent regional and international action to put an end to these malicious plans. As reports emerge that Netanyahu intends to sabotage future phases of the ceasefire deal, Naim reiterated Hamas's position that it intends to abide by the terms. We demand that the mediators, especially the United States, oblige the occupation to implement the ceasefire agreement in its 3 stages without procrastination or manipulation, he said. We are committed to implementing the agreement as long as the occupation commits to it, and any manipulation in implementing the agreement may cause its collapse. Palestinians refuse to relive 1948 as Trump suggests leaving Gaza when you're indigenous to the land. Amir Karaja told CNN he would rather eat the rubble than be forced to leave his homeland. We are steadfast here, Karaja told CNN on Wednesday, as he was working on what remained of his home in the Nusayrat camp in central Gaza. Caroline Leavitt walks back Trump's statements on Gaza from yesterday. Dude, I can't, like, what is lasered into the back of my mind is the smirk, okay? The insane, insidious smirk on Benjamin Netanyahu's face as Donald Trump talked about ethnically cleansing the Gaza Strip. He just sat there and he just smiled. Just so awful. Insanely awful.
Plans for Gaza, any and all Palestinians who want to stay in Gaza on their land.
Like, dudes didn't leave their homes when they were getting bombed, man. Why would they ever leave during the rebuilding process, especially when so much of the Palestinian collective identity revolves around being displaced, you know?
Will be allowed to do so.
I can confirm that the president is committed to rebuilding Gaza and to temporarily relocating those who are there because, as I've showed you repeatedly, it is a demolition site. There is no running water. There is no electricity. The president wants these individuals to live in peace. He is committed to doing that with this very bold new plan, and we will continue to keep you apprised of updates as we receive them.
If we put boots on the ground, American troops will be killed by a strengthening insurgency dug into the rubble of Gaza and will rapidly become Iraq 2.0. Yeah.